This is Healing at Soul Level with your host, Shawna Williams. Shawna is here to provide various forms of healing that are non-invasive, that promote relaxation and aid the body in naturally healing itself by using ancient healing techniques that have been around for centuries. So please welcome the host of Healing at Soul Level, Shawna Williams.
Hello, and welcome to Healing at Soul Level. I'm your host, Shawna Williams. DNA ThetaHealing. It's a meditational process that creates physical, psychological, and spiritual healing by identifying and replacing a client's limiting beliefs with focus and intention through the Creator. Sherry Coffman, a certified DNA Theta healer and instructor with Radiant Moon Reiki, has decades of experience in helping others live more enhanced lives. She uses her intuitive abilities to combine healing modalities in the highest good of her clients. Welcome to the show, Sherry.
Shawna, I'm really happy to be here with you today.
I'm so glad you agreed to be on this show. I'm excited for everybody to find out more about DNA Theta healing. Tell me a little bit more about yourself. It is.
Okay. Yeah. Well, I am a former high school teacher. That was something that I did for about 25 years, and I raised two sons. I have two adult sons now. And about the last couple of years of teaching, even though I really loved being a classroom teacher, and I had what I used to say was the best job in the world because I got paid to speak French all day long, and what could be better than that?
Right.
I was becoming restless, and I was starting to become really interested in natural ways of helping people live better lives. And I had started doing some study in crystal healing, just for my own curiosity and benefit and interest. And I was also using essential oils. And then I decided toward the end of my teaching career that, not knowing it was about to be the end of my teaching career, I decided that I needed to become more connected to the Reiki community because I was already a Reiki master practitioner at that time, not a teacher yet. And so I connected on Meet with a Reiki share, a Reiki meetup. And in going to the shares there, at Reiki shares, we rotate on the table and we give and receive Reiki from other Reiki practitioners. And in between people on the table, at one point at this one share, I suddenly noticed that I had drainage going down the back of my throat. And so I mentioned it to the host, who was a Reiki master, and she said, well, yeah, you've got things built up in your sinuses. And I thought, well, now, wait a minute. How could she know that? And I said, well, how do you know that I've got something built in my sinuses? And she said, well, I can see it. And I said, how can you see my sinuses? And she just looked at me, and she said, DNA ThetaHealing. And that was my first time to ever hear it. And I looked her straight in the face, and I said, I got to get me some of that.
Yeah.
So, right? I didn't know what it was, what she was talking about, but I thought if this woman could see my sinuses, then, that was something I was interested in. So she herself was in the going through the training program to become an instructor. And so as soon as she was certified, I was in one of her first classes. And that's how I got connected to Theta Healing. And in my very first class, with my original Theta Healing instructor's name is Carrie Lexington. She's in the area. And my very first class with her, I was in the restroom on a break and washing my hands, and I looked up in the mirror, and I heard Spirit say, in 2 years, you're going to retire from teaching, and you're going to have your own energy healing practice. And
wow.
I thought, yeah, exactly. Well, okay. And, it was one of those moments when it's something kind of bizarre. It feels bizarre on one level, but then you just know it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You just feel it, and you just know it's truth. You have no idea how that's going to happen. You can't see how that's going to happen in that moment, but you just know it's going to be. And so what happened was I started looking then at, retiring in 2 years. I started looking at finances, started making big payments on my car to get it paid off. And I thought, okay, at the end of 2 years, I can have my car paid off. It was still fairly new at that time. I can have these school loans paid off for one of my sons. I can be in a position that if I had to, I could probably live on my retirement check. And then, you know, that's a nice base and a foundation. Well, that next October, I'm driving home from school, doing what I like to call minding my own business. And I'd had a really good day at school. I had about a 10-minute drive. And about halfway home, I started feeling all this agitation inside myself. And I literally started crying in the car while I was driving. And my mind was going to places like, well, maybe I could retire by the end of this year. In a very agitated, frustrated, I literally felt trapped. And I didn't understand it because it's my job, right? And then my mind, maybe I could retire by December, because when you teach in public schools in Texas, there's this golden number you have to reach, the combination of your age and the number of years teaching. And I could have literally, you know, walked out the door in December, but it would not have been financially wise. And I wouldn't want to do that to my students, have them have to have someone new the second half of the year, especially for foreign language. So I went home and called my friend Cheryl Andrea, who owns the Dallas Psychic Fair, and I set up an appointment with her for the next day. And I did something that I had never done before. I actually went on a call with her during the school day, but during my off time, right? And I left my student teacher in my classroom. I went out to the courtyard where I would get better reception and I would have privacy. And I told Cheryl what was happening, you know, what my plan had been, what my experience had been, and what had happened to me the day before. And that was when she gave me some wisdom that I have never forgotten, and I've shared with people so many times, that has helped me and others. She said, Sherry, your spiritual essence has already stepped into a new way of being. In other words, you are no longer in the life that you are living. Your essence has moved forward, and your physicality has not caught up yet. And this
that makes perfect sense.
Agitation, doesn't it? And once you understand that, you can reflect back to so many times that's happened to you. And she said, you have a window of opportunity this summer. And if you don't move this summer, then the next window of opportunity that I see at this point in time is in 5 years. Well, I felt like someone had dropped a brick in my gut, right? I was already planning on moving out of that career into the new one within 2 years. And 5 years definitely didn't feel right. But, you know, being a fairly practical person, I didn't want to just say definitively in that moment. It didn't feel like in that moment that I knew for sure I could say, I'll leave, you know, the end of this year. But I kept just being that, right, just sitting with that. And by February, I was standing in my living room. I can still see myself standing in the exact spot. I still had a landline then. The phone was cordless, but I was standing there. And I was talking to a friend who had taken on the job of worrying for me. You know what I mean? That kind of friend that always wants to tell you why she's just so worried about if you do this or you don't do that, you know, what's going to go wrong in your life.
You know what? We're going to stop you just right there so we can stop and take a quick break. And we come back and I want you to finish up your story, okay?
Okay, great.
Thank you. Hello and welcome back to Healing at Soul Level. And I'm your host, Shawna Williams. We've been talking with Sherry Coffman today about DNA ThetaHealing, but she was telling us an interesting story about how she got started in this. So if you can go ahead and finish up with that, that'd be great.
Okay. So I believe I said I was standing in my living room and I was talking to a friend on the phone, and she was doing her typical worrying for me. I'm just so worried if you leave teaching this and that. And I was doing my typical kind of backpedaling, defending myself. It wasn't an argument, right, but just giving her all the reasons why it would be okay. And then suddenly I felt my energy shift into forward motion, and I started creating for her the possibility of, you know, leaving teaching and going to practice. And she suddenly got completely still and quiet, and she said, well, I guess you've made your decision then. And that kind of stopped me because I was still in flow. And I said, what? And we got off the phone. A few minutes later, I stood there and I went back through that conversation in my mind, which I now can't remember, which is odd for me. But I went through that conversation, thought, oh my goodness, she's right. And in that second that I knew that I was going to retire at the end of that school year, which was 1 year rather than 2, I felt as if my body was floating up and as if it was being infused with joy. And in that moment, I created that moment.
That's wonderful.
And
wow.
Isn't that fabulous? And I mean, just such an affirmation. And I tell people is your body will tell you. It's what I call body wisdom. You know, your body will tell you when something is right and you're walking in divine purpose. And that's just become my mantra, lightness and joy. And so from that time forward, I just moved forward to getting complete with that school year, you know, making sure that anything I had wanted to do or feel or experience in the classroom as much as possible that I hadn't, and I made sure I did that, because that's very important when we move from one phase to the next, to make sure that we're complete with the phase that we're leaving. And so then I just started, you know, taking clients, and at that time I started teaching Reiki, and a year later became certified as a Theta healing instructor. So now I see clients privately at my home. I work with people at fairs. I do some meetups. I can work with people anywhere in the world because Theta healing, like Reiki, is an energy modality. So it doesn't matter where it is. I can work with them by phone. I can work with them face-to-face. We can be on Skype. We can be on Zoom. And now to teach classes, those have to be done, you know, the certification classes have to be done face-to-face. But I also create other workshops for people with special interests. So right now I'm teaching a workshop that's a 4-week, 2 hours each Wednesday, called Sourcing a Spiritual Soulmate. And I call that SAS for short, like my acronym. And is to help people create the kinds of relationships they want. It was originally designed for people to pull in a soulmate, but I realized at the time I was creating it that it was so much more, and that everything in life is a relationship. And I've had people testify to shifting their relationship with themselves, with their parents. Some people have used it to shift the energy around careers and things like that. So I teach special interest courses like that, as well as certifying people in Reiki, Theta healing, and then another modality that I do called the Aroma Freedom technique. So that's me, and that's what I do. And I do that here in the Dallas-Fort Worth area. I'm in Arlington. But I do travel to certify people as well. So if there's anyone listening, or if you know of anyone, you're listening and you know someone that's interested in certifying as a Reiki practitioner or a DNA Theta healer or an Aroma Freedom technique practitioner, for a big enough group, I will travel to people. So.
Well, you know, I actually had DNA Theta healing from you. I think it was a week ago. And it was incredible. Like, I could feel all the energy, and it was just, she taught me things I didn't know and didn't realize. And I have to tell you, I started crying. And then that pissed me off because I'm not a crier. But then she explained that, you know, that's what I needed to do. And so now I'm okay with that. But I will be learning DNA Theta healing as well, because it's a wonderful modality. Tell them a little bit more about how Theta healing works.
Well, you know, it's called DNA Theta healing. And as you said, it's a meditational process for creating healing by identifying and replacing limiting beliefs. And the woman that channeled this work to the planet by Styles worked for years and years and years. She has a really interesting story that you can read online at ThetaHealing.com. But what she has taught us is that when we go into a theta brainwave, and the theta brainwave is the brainwave we all go into when we're dreaming. It's that rapid eye movement or REM sleep that you hear about. We're also in a theta brainwave when we're waking up in the morning, in that split second when we realize we're coming to consciousness but we're not quite there, or when we're falling asleep in that sensation of, you know, oh, I'm going to sleep. That's the theta brainwave. And what Vienna has taught us is that when we go into the theta brainwave, we go into complete connection with divine source energy. I call that energy creator. Other people call it God, whatever it is that you call it, the life force. And from that place, we have been taught that we have a right to heal, and we have a right to work with that divine source energy in a cooperative nature to shift beliefs within our energy system and to facilitate the shift for beliefs in other people's energy system. And what happens is that as we're going through life and we have the experiences that we're having, thoughts come up around those experiences, and we have thoughts about ourselves, about other people, and about the world. And when those thoughts repeat over and over again, then they become beliefs, and they move into our subconscious. And our subconscious doesn't know if our beliefs are for our highest best or if there's something that are going to keep us stuck. It's just the repository of the belief. It believes that everything that we believe is good for us. So as a theta healer, I help people identify those beliefs in their subconscious that are no longer serving them, things that are keeping them stuck from moving forward into manifesting their happiest and best life. And we also find that those subconscious beliefs manifest into our body things that we would rather not have, things that are, disorder or dis-ease. And so as we work on those beliefs and we release those subconscious beliefs that are serving us, then the body is able to heal itself.
Oh, okay. Oh.
And that's kind of what you do in your session. Yeah.
Yeah, because I don't know. Like you said, just like with Reiki, it's almost like something I couldn't really explain. So it was just, the feeling was great. I felt so much better after I left. We will give it a quick break real quick. Right now, we're going to stop and we'll be back. Please tune in. Welcome back to Healing at Soul Level. I'm your host, Shawna Williams. Today's guest, Sherry Coffman, has been talking about DNA ThetaHealing. And we were just talking about little details about it, but now I'd like for her to explain how it works and how it can benefit somebody.
Yeah. Okay. So we were talking in the last segment about how our thoughts, when they repeat over and over again, become beliefs, and then they are held in our subconscious. And we manifest our lives from what we believe. If we don't believe something is possible, then it's not possible for us. So when we look around and we see those complaints that we have in life of the way life is not showing up in a way we'd like to, that's an indication to us of a belief that we have in the subconscious. So as a theta healer, when I'm working with a client, I take my consciousness to a theta brainwave spontaneously, and then I enter the consciousness of the client with their permission. And I help identify for them what they're holding at the subconscious level. And then working in collaboration with divine source energy, I ask for that subconscious belief to be pulled, just like a program on a computer. If you think about having a program on a computer that then contracts a virus, that's no longer serving the system. So we ask for that program, that subconscious belief, to be pulled and deleted and sent to the light. And then we download through guidance from divine source new programs that serve us better. So for example, say that someone, and we use muscle testing to identify these beliefs. So say that someone has a belief. I'll give you an example from myself. When I was in training in Sedona for intuitive anatomy, which is a 15-day course, and we work on our classmates and they work on us, we identified a belief that I was carrying that I had a vow of poverty. And this sounds crazy, but under muscle testing, that was a positive yes. Well, when you consider what we know now, there's a science that is doing research, a field of science doing research, kind of catching up with what we've known in the metaphysical world for a while now, something called epigenetics, that shows us that we don't inherit just the color of our eyes or the shape of our face, but we also inherit beliefs through our DNA from our ancestors. So it would make sense then in those circumstances that maybe I was carrying a vow of poverty, because I have Catholic ancestry on one side of my family, There may have been a monk or a nun, right, who had taken a vow of poverty. So that can be really inconvenient when you're trying to create abundance in your life. If you've got a belief, right, that you have a vow of poverty. So what happened in that session for me and my practice partner in class was that we went into what's called a digging process. So we would call that I have a vow of poverty my top belief. And then through a conversational process, my partner would be digging down under the surface to get to the bottom belief, deep down where the roots are. And in that particular session, I can remember that the bottom belief for me was, it's my fault no one loves me. Now, that's also very inconvenient, but it seems totally unrelated. But that happens so much of the time because you think about connecting dots on things that don't, you'll say something to someone in conversation, I'll say, why on earth did you think of that right now? And you go back through in your mind connecting those dots, and the path really does make sense. And that's what we find in theta healing, is that we want to dig down to the deepest belief, to the bottom belief. And then what Vienna teaches us is that when we pull that bottom belief, beliefs that we haven't even become aware of during the session, that are stacked up on top of that, come tumbling down. Just like that old game Jenga, where you're trying to pull things out, pull the rods out, and you don't want it to topple. In theta healing, we want to get the bottom so that when we pull it, everything comes crashing down. And that's why you feel so good after a session, because even things that we didn't hit on consciously or bring up from your senses that are there, they come tumbling down. And that's so important because, like I said, we inherit beliefs from our ancestors. Oh, but wait, there's more. We actually bring in beliefs. If you believe in reincarnation, we bring in beliefs that we've developed in other lifetimes. Because remember, I said we've developed these beliefs as having experiences. So if you believe that you have lived in another lifetime, you've had other incarnations, you've got those beliefs that you've developed in those. You've got the beliefs of your ancestors that are in your DNA. You have collective conscious beliefs. So those things that we pick up as memes in our society about women being worth less than men, right? Or maybe you believe just from watching the women in your life that all men leave you. That if you love a man, he leaves you. Well, it's going to be difficult for you to have a fulfilling relationship if you have that belief, because whatever you believe in your subconscious, that's what you are a frequency for, and that's what is attracted to you. So the universe is going to affirm for you what you believe. The DNA Theta is an opportunity for people to release themselves from those beliefs that are causing things to manifest in their lives that they don't want, and then free them from the blocks so that they can manifest what they do want. And I think that's a really beautiful thing.
Yeah. I mean, the way you broke that down, that was really good. It's a good understanding of everything. It made me understand it even more, even though I went through the process,
Yeah, it takes a while. And, the teacher in me always wants to explain, but during a session, I want to make sure we spend our time, doing as much of the work as we can. And then some of the other things that we do that are kind of outside the digging process, we can do things like eliminate we can release energetic marriages. And by that doesn't mean you're literally married to the person in the legal sense or the spiritual sense that we think of here on the planet. But we can have energy stuck between us and another person, kind of like an energetic umbilical cord. And you think about it, when you were born, if the doctor hadn't cut the umbilical cord, that would have been really not great for you or your mom. And when we have energetic people, right, we're stuck. And so it's difficult for both of us to move around. And so we can do what we call an energetic divorce. You can think of it similar to cutting a cord. We also do soul fragment retrievals, where when we have intense relationships with people, little pieces of our soul will peel off and go stick to them, and vice versa, especially if we've invested a lot of our energy in people. And so then we're walking around with a little bit of empty space inside of us that should be full, and then we've got some stuff stuck to us that we really shouldn't have. One of the coolest things that we do is a higher self reading, and we'll talk about that in the next segment.
Yes, I believe we're going to have a caller call in about that so that we can do a higher self reading. But right now, we're going to take a break and then we will be right back. Welcome back to Healing at Soul Level. I'm your host, Shawna Williams. We've been talking about DNA Theta Healing today with Sherry Coffman. And she's been explaining a little bit about Theta Healing and some of the benefits. And we have a caller who's called in, and so we're going to go ahead and give her a higher self reading. And the caller is named Raina. Is that correct?
Yes.
Raina. Okay, well, this is Sherry Coffman, and I'm going to let Sherry take over from here.
Okay, great. Thanks. Hi, Raina.
Hey, how are you?
I'm great. Thank you so much for calling in to be our volunteer today. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to ask you, first of all, are you seated in a comfortable position?
Yes.
Okay. So I would like you to sit with your back straight but not stiff and your feet flat on the floor and close your eyes and take a deep breath in and out. And just silently tell your body to relax. And take another deep breath in and out. And then I want you to center your energy in your heart space. And staying in that heart space, I would like you to answer this question from your heart. If you could shift one thing in your life right now, just one, what would you most want to shift? And that might be specific or it might just be an area of life. What comes up for you from your heart?
It's so many different things. I mean,
okay, what's the first thing that you heard come up?
I want my divorce.
Okay. All right. And so would you like to talk to is there a question around that? Would you like to talk to your higher self about what needs to be done or how you need to deal with things? Or is there something else on your mind you'd like wisdom for?
I just want closure to the whole situation.
Okay. All right. So the way a higher self reading works is I'm going to take myself to a theta brainwave, and then with your permission, I'm going to enter your energetic space. I'm going to ask you to keep your eyes closed unless I ask you to open them. And I'm going to take my consciousness into theta and then into your space, and then I'm going to come up out of your space. And I'm going to see some kind of image that will represent your higher self. And usually for me, I see something in nature, like a tree or a landscape, a flower or a plant. Sometimes I see a crystal. Every once in a while, I'll see a person or I might see an animal. And I'll listen to see what message your higher self has for you. And then after that, I'll let you ask questions. Does that sound okay?
Okay.
Okay. So when we connect to the higher self, what we're doing is if you think of yourself as a leaf and you think of the main trunk of the tree as divine source, your higher self is like the branch that connects the leaf to the tree. So it can give us wisdom because it has, as we call it, high self. It has a higher perspective. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to ask that you be downloaded with unconditional love from divine source energy. And then with your permission, I'm going to connect to your higher self. Yes?
Okay. Okay.
Okay, so I see your higher self as a very, like a delicate, very elegant tree. It has a very small trunk, and it's giving off this lovely yellow greenish light. It almost looks like a very fine drawing from like a Japanese artist or something, because the leaves are very delicate and they're beautiful, and it's growing mostly in one direction because the sun is in that direction. It's on the left-hand side as I'm facing it would be your right, it's my left. And that generally is going to be, for me, looking more at the past. But it's taking in light and it's growing from that direction. So I'm feeling like it's telling me that there's something that can sustain you. You know, trees grow by turning light, sunlight, into energy, right? And this tree that's representing itself as your higher self is taking in the light to that side. And it feels like there's something that you want to reconnect to from your past that's going to feed you and sustain you and nourish you and help you maintain your roots. Does that make any sense to you?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So I don't know if that's a connection just to family or, you know, an activity you used to do, a career, it feels like it's a connection maybe to a community, maybe not necessarily family, but reconnecting. And it could just be reconnecting to yourself from something that you've kind of left by the wayside. Is that resonating with you?
Yeah, a little bit. Mm-hmm.
Okay. All right. So what would you like to ask of your higher self in regards to the situation with the divorce and closure?
Is it the right decision?
The divorce itself?
Yeah. What direction do I need to take?
So it's showing me, remember I said the tree was leaning mostly to one side, and trees do that, right? They'll reach for the light. And when you ask that question, it's like the other side of the tree that it wasn't that the tree was missing part of it, but it didn't look symmetric, right? It didn't look balanced because it was reaching for the light on this one side. When you ask that question, it's like that other side just popped in and the tree became very balanced. So it feels to me from that what your higher self is saying, and you understand I wouldn't myself say, yes, get a divorce, right? That's entirely up to you. But the tree, your higher self is representing that through the divorce, you're going to come more back into balance. So like what I was saying a minute ago, this makes sense to me that you need to reach back and reconnect to something that has kind of been set by the wayside or that you've lost your connection to in the past. And it looks to me like the divorce is it almost looked like the tree had branches that were tied and being pulled to one side. And when you said that, someone cut the cord, cut the rope, and it popped back into full blossom. Does that make sense, Raina?
Yeah.
Wow, that's pretty interesting to me. What we're going to do, though, is take a quick break, and we'll come back and let the reading continue. Hi, I'm Shawna Williams, host of Healing at Soul Level. Today we're talking about DNA Theta Healing with Sherry Coffman, and we have a caller in, Miss Raina, excuse me, and she's getting a higher self reading. So I will let Sherry take over.
Okay. So, Raina, during the break, I've stayed connected to your energy, and what I'm seeing, for those of you that weren't on the last segment, in the higher self reading, Raina's higher self is representing as a tree. And so what I felt was the two things that I had said earlier. The tree is telling me, which is your higher self, that as you connect to whatever that is that from your past that is really going to nourish you, feed you, just like sunlight feeds the tree and helps the tree grow its roots, that's going to give you the strength and the nourishment you need to do whatever it is you need to do to move forward through this time and this divorce. And that's where your answers are going to be, because that's going to give you the strength. And once you are reconnected to that energy and that strength and that nurturing that you've kind of, that has kind of been on hold for you, I'll say, that's going to help you have the answers that you need to make decisions for what to do. Because once we have our roots in place, then we can have new growth, right? But we have to feed the roots. And that's where the nurturing had not been coming from. It's been kind of on hold. Is that making sense?
Yes, it does.
Okay. Anything else you'd like to ask your higher self?
I just, something's missing. It seems like I know what I want, but then I'm lost all at the same time.
You know what you want in regards to the divorce or for life in general?
Life in general. I mean, as far as career and, you know, I'm getting old, so it's like I feel like sometimes time is running out.
Well, okay, so what I see is in your higher self representation, what I see is, remember when I said the tree kind of sprung back and then it filled out on the other side? It's a different kind of growth. So there's going to be something new for you moving forward. And I don't want you to think that life is over, or there's no more opportunities, or there's no more time. Would you like me to give you a download that you know that you have the Creator's perspective and understanding of time as infinite, and that you know how it feels to experience time that way? You know it's possible to, and that you already do experience that way in all areas of your life, in all times, manners, ways, forms, and places you exist, on every cell of your body, on every level of your being. Would you like that as a download?
Yes.
Okay, here we go. Just close your eyes, take a deep breath. And Shawna, would you like that as a download as well?
Oh, yes.
There you go. And Raina, would you like to know, the Creator's asking, would you like to know that you already have everything you need inside yourself, that you already have all the answers, that it's just a matter of being connected to who you truly are and being fed by your own truth as you're guided by the Creator? Would you like that download?
Yes.
And would you like to know, the Creator wants to know, would you like to know that the future can always be the best that you've experienced? And would you like to know how it feels to know that on every cell of your being, in every area of your life, in all times, manners, ways, forms, and places you exist? Yes?
Yes.
All right, I'm going to thank your higher self for allowing us to speak with it. I'm going to download you once again with unconditional love from the Creator and make the command that anything residual to this healing around these topics not already done, be done so now. Okay, take a deep breath in and out and come back into your space and open your eyes. How was that?
Raina?
Sitting over here in tears.
Oh, I told you she'll make you cry. Wow.
Not trying to make you sad, but yes, sometimes the tears come because that's the reason.
It's just the emotions that come with it. It just moves you to that, and you're like, wow, okay, where did that come from?
Yeah.
Well, Raina, did you have any other questions before we let you go?
No.
No. Well, I'm so glad you called in, and I do wish you the best. You know, I'm sure everything will be fine. You know, afterwards, transition is hard, and even when you're transitioning into something better for yourself, just the fact that you have to do transitioning, that's just hard. So I do wish you the best, and I thank you for calling in.
Thank you.
Have a great day.
Okay. You too.
Thank you. So, Sherry, that was pretty moving. I mean, yeah, you and these tears, I tell you.
Made you cry again. I'm so sorry.
Yeah, it's just like, wow. So, you having a Reiki share? You said, I think it's Sunday.
Yes, I have a Reiki Share Sunday, and my Reiki shares are open to anyone who is already certified at some level of Reiki, whether that's Reiki 1, 2, or master level. I do need people to RSVP because, I don't have space for, I only have space for a certain number of people. But if anybody listening is a certified Reiki practitioner and would like to be included in that, then I'd be happy to hear from them. If they go to my website, they can sign up for my newsletter, and then the newsletter will always have the dates. I also have a meetup, Radiant Moon Reiki meetup, and the shares are most of the time advertised on there as well. So okay. I'd be happy to have anybody listening.
Okay, yeah, that would be good because I did notice that. I saw the meetup share that you were having this Sunday. And they can also contact you when it comes to your, what is the fragrance? I'm sorry. What is that called? Your fragrance, I know you use Young Living essential oils during this.
Young Living oils. Yeah. My main website, Radiant Moon Reiki, is where all of my other things channel to. So I have oils for Radiant Living, and it's connected to my Radiant Moon Reiki site. But if they go to my Radiant Moon Reiki site and look at the section for oils for Radiant Living, that will take them to my Young Living website.
Okay. Well, we're going to take a quick break and we will be right back. Please stay tuned. Welcome back to Healing at Soul Level. I'm your host, Shawna Williams. So, Sherry, this has been a really good show, and I'd like to know a little bit more about some of your other modalities and how can someone contact you so that they can, get treatment from you.
Okay. Well, I think I've already mentioned my website, radiantmoonreiki.com. They can email me at kaufmansherry@gmail.com. And I also have a Facebook business page, Radiant Moon Reiki. I've already mentioned that I do Reiki. That's the name of the business. I also do two other things besides Reiki and Theta healing. I do something called remote crystal viewing, which helps clients go back into previous lifetimes and bring positive characteristics and experiences forward into this lifetime, and to clear up traumas and things from the former lifetime. My newest thing that I'm just absolutely in love with is called the Aroma Freedom technique. And I'm a practitioner and instructor in the academy, and I actually help mentor other instructors that are coming along. And the Aroma Freedom technique is a step-by-step process that involves the use of essential oils that helps people, again, identify negative thoughts, feelings, and memories, and release those so that people can move forward toward their dreams rather than contracting in fear and doubt. And so that's something that I do. And if you follow the website or sign up for the newsletter, you can see when I do intros to that. I do something called an immersion. That's a 4-hour workshop for people to learn the technique so that they can use it on friends and family. Or if people want to actually incorporate it as a business, they can do a certification training.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that's what I was trying to say earlier. Aroma therapy technique.
Aroma Freedom technique. Yeah, I'm sorry.
Aroma Freedom.
Yeah.
That's what I was trying to say.
All about the freedom.
Yes. That's definitely what we want is freedom. I know that's one reason why I went into this, that 9 to 5 at the office in the corporate world. That just wasn't working for me anymore. So, yeah, That's why I moved over. You too?
Yep. And I mean, everything that I do, I'm trying to help people raise their personal frequency, because my personal mission is to help raise the frequency of the planet. And every person I work with that becomes free of something and raises their frequency helps raise mine, and together we help raise the frequency of the planet. And that's why I'm so grateful for my clients and my students, because they help me do that.
Yeah, and that's a great thing. Sherry, I'm so glad you came on the show. I'd like to thank you for agreeing to be on the show, and I will be talking to you soon.
Okay, great. It's been great to be here, and I appreciate what you're doing so much.
Thank you. So This was Sherry Coffman from Radiant Moon Reiki, and I just wanted to say again, in order to get in touch with her, you can find her at her website on radiantmoonreiki.com or at Facebook at Radiant Moon Reiki. And you can even give her a call on the phone at 817-468-1691. Tune in next week to hear about mediumship with my guest, Jamie O'Donnell. To listen to the podcast for this and other past episodes, or to book Reiki services and Akashic Record readings with me, visit my website at indigo-qi.com. And if you have a healing modality that you'd like to share and want to be a guest on my show, email me at shawna@indigo-qi.com. This has been just the best. I just really liked this episode because, again, personally, I was able to have this experience with Sherry, and the muscle testing and the digging that she did was just incredible to me. I can't even find the words. You should go and visit Sherry. But it's time for us to leave. So you've been listening to Healing at Soul Level, and I'm your host, Shawna Williams. Thank you for tuning in. Love and light.
This has been Healing at Soul Level with host Shawna Williams. Listen each week as Shawna will help you discover the different healing modalities and how to use them in your everyday life, right here on Shawna Williams' Healing at Soul Level.